Okay, so for the first session here in Roots and Resilience, we're going to have an open sharing circle talking about anything that we're growing, harvesting, preserving, experimenting, any projects that we've been involved with or are involved with that are exciting us. And yeah, so invitation to share what you'd like with the group or ask questions of each other. There are things we'd like to learn about. So yeah, is there anyone who'd like to begin?
I mean, I can talk. I would love to say I'm working on a project. I'm not at the moment. So, except for my garden, which is a very small, very urban plot. So I'm in East London, not too far from Rakesh, actually, just up the road to Rakesh. And I've got a very small terraced garden, which has quite a lot of concrete in, but the borders are quite fruitful as much as I've been able to make them. I've only actually been here 2 years. It's my parents' house. So they've been here for maybe 15 years, but the garden was just, it was sort of just kind of weeds essentially. It wasn't doing tons, it was just grass basically. So I've put lots of perennials in, got some pretty good composting going, lots of soft fruit. And at the moment, all that's growing out there is, there's a lot of chard, some spinach. It's kind of that time of the year. There's some onions, spring onions hanging around still, that are doing quite well, some beetroot, etc. So the kids, I've got two kids, they are 10 and 5, so they're enjoying the, still eating a lot of chard, bless them. They're doing well with it. And we were just aerating the compost earlier on today, and we've just bought some bokashi bins to try out. So I was noticing we had, the compost gets used a lot, but we have, cooked food waste I wasn't able to put out there. So I've just got some bokashi bins to try and see how that goes. So have it in the bokashi for a couple of weeks and then move it out to the regular compost once it started breaking down a bit. So that's the plan with that. But otherwise, I've just started the Children in Permaculture course, hoping to do the Permaculture Design Certificate for Educators, which is going to be starting in this December, maybe, I think. And yeah, that's my news.
Wonderful. And where are you hoping to go when you've done the certificate? What kind of directions you have in mind?
So this is what I've been thinking about. So getting hold of land in London is not the easiest thing. I actually home educate both of my children. So it's very likely that the first port of call would be to start a home educators permaculture group to teach children more about permaculture, with a view to perhaps sort of find some space that we can do some growing in. But in the first instance, it would probably be meeting in a woodland or something and just doing some building knowledge of being outside and getting used to sort of having respect and love for nature and just those parts of it until we can find somewhere to actually be growing. So that's probably the plan. Things change all the time. I've got two quite young children, and I can't sort of throw myself hugely into anything at a project at the moment, but I'm hoping. It also depends if Rakesh starts trying to drag me along to things, which is quite possible because he's figured out who I am now and that we live quite close to each other. So
He knows where
yeah,
you live. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because he mentioned that there was like a space that used to be like a B&Q or something pretty near to him, that they wanted to do some kind of community space and maybe have a garden there. And he was having meetings about that. I don't know if he's mentioned that to you as well.
No, he did say to me that he had a couple of spaces that he's hoping to get something going in, like near sort of Valentine's Parkway, Ilford Way, which is near where he lives. So
Yeah.
I live maybe 10 minutes up the road. So I'm very interested to see because if he's got anything specifically working with children, although I would quite happily go back into like the therapeutic stuff with adults. I'd need to have my children with me, which is what the issue is. So whatever it is that happens, that they need to be able to be part of it.
Yeah, yeah, I imagine that's difficult. Yeah, doing the therapy with the
Yeah.
kids around. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's another lovely woman also in the network called Maria. She's a British Bulgarian woman. She's also on the PDC. And she does a lot of work with forest school. She's a forest school
Mm.
trainer. And she, yeah, runs forest schools. And she's always posting really amazing things about what she's doing. And that looks like a really beautiful direction as well to work with kids and
The
nature.
cost is so prohibitive though to do forest school. It's so expensive, and
Yeah.
there's no like tiered costings like there is with most permaculture courses. It's like 900, £1,000 to do a forest school course.
Aha.
So it's quite inaccessible unless you're already quite well off.
Yeah, that's something I didn't know about actually. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
something, like I love to do as well as thousands of other things. But yeah, said to Maria when she comes to Bulgaria to do her next training, I'll join it. But yeah, that's pretty expensive. So,
Yeah, also the thing is like a lot of the stuff you do on forest school, if you've ever done sort of environmental education with kids or outdoor education with kids, you would have done it anyway. The
right,
thing
yeah.
about forest school is you're kind of buying the brand because people know about it. So if you want to go and work with schools or if you want to work with community groups, it's a very well known, well established sort of brand now, we could call it. So you know that you're going to be able to get your foot in the door a lot easier than if you're plugging yourself as a brand new thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's a kind of like, yeah, like a set system that people already know about for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many overlaps, aren't there, between all of these different things. Like here, we've got in the community a group of young kids, and even without organizing so many things, like just because of the way we live, they already learned so many things, like chopping wood for the fire, lighting the stove, working in the gardens, recognizing plants and trees, learning about grafting, just because they follow us around and do what we do. Um, but yeah, it's, I guess, yeah, there's different paths that take people into this knowledge, so it's nice to have all of them. Yeah, well, that sounds exciting. Yeah, the children in permaculture is also another pathway that's really interesting. I've worked here, yeah, with children and young people, but again, without having any of these trainings. But yeah, again, it's something that would be really nice to look more into in the future.
Yeah, I think the the children in permaculture sort of group is it's not been running for a really long time. I think Rakesh was saying, but also this is the first permaculture design certificate for educators. I think this is the first one they're going to be doing online. But I think they ran one more of them face to face.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite a new sort of. So it's about doing a normal PDC, but just catering it to educating children about it as well, which is quite an
Yeah.
interesting slant on things, I think. So you cover all the same modules. But I think what they're doing is they're doing so you can just top up. So if you've got a PDC already, you're just doing just a bit extra just to learn a bit about teaching it to children. So you don't have to do the whole PDC again. They're doing that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we had a plan with Rakesh to do an in-person PDC in September, like a family-friendly one. We had a
Mm.
group of people that we did a family-friendly forest garden course with in the winter, and then a lot of them wanted to do a full PDC. So yeah, we had a lot of nice plans for like having activities separately with the kids, with the adults, like family activities together. Had another woman involved who does this hip hop academy, and she does like work with young people in permaculture and hip hop. But obviously, yeah, that didn't happen in person, and yeah, we'll save that for another time. So yeah, lots of nice things. I think also working with whole families is a really nice direction. That's like one of the focuses here in our community, kind of like family team building. And yeah, we have a lot of guests and volunteers who also come as families, and that's a really nice experience to be able to see kind of the different levels everyone gets involved in, and then yeah, we all work together as families and kind of learn a lot from each other as we do that. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
really like that direction, like kind of having it as a family. I suppose it'll be great if it could be done so, like you say, so that there are some activities that you do all together, and then there's some where the children are doing something, and then the adults, because it's really hard to take in information sometimes if you, especially if you're doing something that's quite wordy and you're trying to listen, and then the kids are kind of jumping all over you and whatever.
yeah,
So definitely having the two separate parts in some areas would be brilliant. I think that's definitely the
yeah.
way to go.
Yeah, because there's a point at which it's like, yeah, it's really nice doing things together, and there's a point at which you're like, someone take the kids and do something fun with them, and I'm just gonna sit here quietly with my notebook and like focus on something. I think that's really needed as well for parents. Yeah, to have that balance. Yeah. Okay, nice. So let's go around. Kai, was there something you'd like to share?
Oh, the only thing I can share is brambles at the moment. And it's quite monotonous on my side because I'm taking out brambles and brambles and brambles. And I'm really, really happy about the tip Rakesh gave me the other day, I think through you, of
Yeah, I was
making
mentioning that.
biochar.
Yeah, the biochar, I think that's such a great use for the
Oh,
brambles. Yeah.
yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah. So I'm making a big heap at the moment because there's so many of it. And when I'm ready, I'll definitely make biochar. Harvesting, because you said you were harvesting. Not really harvesting because we're just starting with the plot, and at the moment there isn't really anything harvestable apart from a few wild herbs and things. But one thing I'm really happy about is that as I'm clearing a lot of the brambles away, I'm finding lots of little trees, and it's like little treasures, They're coming out of the the wild. All of a sudden today, I found oh, what's the name again? I forget this leaf you put in the food. Uh,
Bay leaf, laurel leaf.
yeah, bay leaf, bay leaf. That's it. Thank you. So I found a little mini bay leaf tree, and I'm really happy about that. And well, yeah, it's just so yeah, not harvesting anything particular, but making it all ready for the harvest next year. So yeah, nothing really very interesting. Clearing the grounds. So
Yeah, that's a nice process as well. I think, like, in terms of kind of observation, that kind of first step of getting to know your lands, and as you clear it, like observing what's growing there, as you said before, like noticing where you've got um, different kind of vegetation in different places.
yeah, it's really interesting also because we can see where the wild boar cross the land, and I have to say, destroy everything. They love playing on our plot apparently, and they just turn it all upside down. But well, at the moment, we're letting them do what they want, and maybe at some point we'll have to find a solution to that. We'll see. If they don't destroy too much, we'll probably leave it. But as soon as we start planting flowers and brushes and all that, maybe we'll see. So yeah, it's a very nice process actually. Because as you say, all we do is observing and discovering new things. And so yeah, very, very happy. I'll tell you more on that in a few months.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Welcome to Zoe. I see you've joined us as well. Nice to have you here. Um,
Thank you.
we're just having a circle at the moment. Yeah, just sharing kind of what's going on with us in terms of our garden projects, kind of anything we'd like to share that's going on. So I'm going to go around to Ruth next and then to you.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, Ruth, over to you. If there's anything you'd like to share. from your side?
Yeah, not harvesting anything at the moment. I've got an allotment. It's on the top of the hill, and there's been loads of erosion. So the soil is like really depleted, and so I've had it for a couple of years, and I keep piling on wood chips, piling on manure, and also from the composting. And so there's a few patches where it's quite fertile, like I grew a small cucumber this, and had quite a few fruit bushes. I don't normally, I'm not really on it. I don't actually harvest the fruit, it's the best. But I have had a couple of autumn olives, which I was amazed at the time. Autumn olive, kind of, do you know?
Yeah,
It's a bush.
Elaeagnus umbellata.
That's it. Yeah. So I planted it like 2 years ago, and I just thought, oh God, it's like a really non-productive evergreen, and it takes up loads of space. But finally, yeah, berries. Yeah, the community garden I work, there's a massive perennial broccoli, I think it is. It hasn't got a label, and a salt bush. So we're constantly harvesting from there. It never runs out. It's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I love Elaeagnus. It's a really beautiful family. We've got the same autumn olive, Elaeagnus umbellata. We've also got Russian olive as well, Elaeagnus angustifolia. And there's another one I'd really like to have for our place, which is Gumi, which is Elaeagnus multiflora, which has got some of the best fruits. It's got kind of bigger, sweeter fruits. How was the fruit on your bush, Ruth?
And it was hidden, like stuck close stem. There was, but it was really sweet, really delicious. So I didn't know there were so many Elaeagnuses. That's great.
Yeah, they're a really beautiful family. There's also a hybrid one, which is Elaeagnus X Ebingai, which is Ebingai's silverberry, which is it's a hybrid that's usually evergreen. So that's kept more as like a hedging plant because it's very dense. So yeah, they're amazing that they're fast growing. They very good hedging. They have fruits, and they're also nitrogen fixing. So they're a good thing to have around your fruit bushes and trees because they're actually helping to fix nitrogen in the soil. So they're working to help that. Sorry, just on the side here, some problem from Mark joining us. Wonderful. Okay. So hi, Jackie. Welcome to the circle. We're just sharing different projects, things we're doing in the gardening. So we're going to go round to Zoe next, and then we can come to you if you'd like to share anything. So yeah, Zoe, welcome.
Thank you. I'm having a lovely garden time at the moment. I'm sort of fencing a bit off to have sort of a mini orchard and some chickens again. So I'm doing just sort of digging random bits at the moment. But lots of plotting and planning going on. So I'm enjoying the process of that. And just getting some sort of storage in there. I've just realised I'm not plugged in. Oh no, I am. So fitting that in when it's dry, and I'd like to put in some sort of shelter as well, so I can be out there when it's miserable. But those are the things that I'm sort of working on. Oh, I'm going to do a massive herb bed as well. Something that, then people, I'm not worried about any children eating things that they shouldn't be eating then as well.
Where did you say your place is? Sorry.
I'm just south of Bristol, in a village between Bristol and Wells.
Nice.
So quite wet, quite sort of damp. We're sort of high on the Mendip, so yeah, watery things like it. But where I'm sort of working, it's quite a sort of sun trap in the summer, but quite sort of blustery in the rest of the time. So yeah, it's good fun.
Nice. So yeah, a good idea to have a bit of a raised hill with all your herbs on to keep their feet dry. Yeah, lovely. Okay. And how did you hear about this event? Are you doing a course with Rakesh, or you just saw?
Yeah, I'm doing the KIP one. I could see Naomi and Jackie as well are doing that on Fridays. And yeah, I've only sort of done Zoom for, you know, sort of like everybody being on the screen at the same time. So really enjoyed it on Friday, sort of going into like breakout rooms and, you know, meeting people with similar ideologies that, you know, you don't meet as many in one place most of the time. So it's very exciting finding this whole new world of people who have similar ways of looking at things. So it's good.
Yeah, my people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a wonderful forest gardening course we did with Rakesh earlier in the summer, and it was like that. Everyone was like, oh, I thought I was the only plant nerd, and now I can just nerd out with all of you guys. And like, you know, have you seen this variety of this plant? And you know, everyone was like so excited, talking about all our botanical nerd research and things like that. Yeah. But yeah, it is beautiful, isn't it? And it's hard, I think, sometimes, yeah, with all the internet and not being in real life with people. But it does open opportunities for more people to get involved who wouldn't be able to otherwise. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I think it's, you know, nice sort of embracing those positive aspects of it that, you know, I think sometimes, especially in all this lockdown stuff, it's like, you know, oh, I'm on the computer so much, and everything seems to be very technological. And then you sort of find things like this, and it's like, yeah, hang on to those bits. Those are the good bits.
yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. So, Jackie, would you like to?
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, nice to meet you.
And you, I probably am a bit of a fraud because I don't know very much about gardening. I have done a little bit in my back garden, but what as Zoe was saying, we're on the same KIP course, and I'm really interested in gardening. I don't know very much, and I'm not that knowledgeable about plant names and everything like that, but I'm really interested in finding, is it the correct word, sort of kind of habitual plants, where plants do well with other plant species and sort of aid growing, and it's just trying to find out more information about that. We're in the process of setting up a sort of kind of, ideally a kind of permaculture garden in a bit of woodlands that we have. So I'm just trying to get as much information as possible and have a bit of learning behind it.
Wonderful. Well, I don't think there's any reason to be a fraud. I think we're all here based on our enthusiasm, you know, like, yeah, I've been, I don't know, taking care of this land here like almost every day for 10 years, but I still feel that I'm still learning and there's so much more to learn. So, yeah, I think it's a really beautiful journey. And yeah, for me, the heart of it is, you know, the excitement and the enthusiasm and the joy of noticing things and understanding things and seeing connections. And yeah, more than, you know, having some kind of encyclopedic knowledge of lots of facts, because yeah, they're not so important. They're useful sometimes, but I think, yeah, if we keep the joy at the center, you know, and that's the beautiful thing about working with children, they remind us of that as well.
That's it. We're just trying to sort of engage the children that we do have, and try and bring in a lot of sort of outside learning for them. But a big part of it is about food and where it comes from, and how trying to make it a bit more sustainable for them.
Yep. Yeah.
And just showing them, because half of them don't actually realise where food comes from. We're not living in a deprived area at all, but it's children that are used to just getting carrots from the supermarket, and they don't appreciate where actual food comes from and the energy it takes to grow and the work involved behind it.
Yeah, that's so important. Like, I grew up in Hackney in London, and like the school I went to was like really mixed, diverse school. But yeah, there are so many people who hadn't been out of the city, and we like went to the city farm, and there was this cow, you know, and the kids were like running away screaming like, oh, it's disgusting. And I was like, where do you think milk comes from? And they're like, what? Milk doesn't come from that. It's like, and the teacher's like, where do you think it comes from? And they're like, it comes from the cartons in the shop. You know, and it's like, no. So yeah, it's hard, isn't it? And but it's lovely when you see kids having that experience of like finding food, because I think it's so natural for them. I see the kids here, like it's kind of like it's a kind of a game and a hobby, you know, just kind of going around like foraging and eating things in everyone's gardens. You know, like the neighbors' kids eat all their raspberries in their garden, and then they come and check out our raspberries, and then they make a plan what they can go and find to chew next, you know. And they're just like, oh, here's some sorrel, and they're like, look, we found this patch of sorrel, and like now it's exciting because it's winter time and there's not so much of it, and they're like bringing you all this sorrel, like feeding you with it. And yeah, for them it's kind of, you know, there's not this thing about like, I don't know, between playing and eating. It's just kind of one entertaining kind of activity, you know. Yeah, lovely. So Ainsley, welcome. Would you like to share anything with us? We're just talking about anything that's happening with us in terms of experiments, gardens, live projects.
Oh, hello. No. I don't know if there's anything especially interesting that I can share.
You can also introduce yourself, because we missed you in the check-in. So yeah, feel free.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm Ainsley. I'm currently doing a PDC with Rakesh. And oh, sorry. Oh, my apologies. Yes. And with Sophie and with Roy, who are co-creators and educators. It must be known. No offense, hopefully, was given. I suppose that's probably about it.
Cool. And do you have a garden anywhere? Have you had any chance to experiment with getting your hands in the soil?
Yes, I do. I'd rather like to do some more gardening, or at least to involve myself in some of the permacultural stuff that we're learning about. Yeah, we have a space that could be used for some projects, I should imagine. It's not something which I've personally done before. I suppose I'm familiar with the concept of gardens being ornamental. They are primarily aesthetic, as opposed to being practical and functional spaces which enable you to acquire some resilience or act as a place where you can retrieve your food or whatever it happens to be. That isn't entirely familiar to me. Evidently, I say evidently, but we've been fortunate enough to have a vegetable patch, and we've used the vegetable patch in the past, but it's not something that's been entirely integrated into our everyday existence. And I think that permaculture is one of the ways of being able to, I suppose, integrate food production alongside many other things into everyday living. So yeah, I think there's lots I could probably say about why it is that I'd like to do permaculture, or why it is that I'd like to sort of implement that into my day-to-day life, but I shouldn't want to bore you, so I shall probably leave it there.
Yeah, don't worry about boring us. We've already established that we're all permaculture obsessives here, and yeah, it's all exciting for us. But yeah, I think that's a really nice point you brought up about kind of the way we have all these kind of divisions, like either it's a beautiful ornamental garden or it's like a functional productive garden. And I think for me personally, what's exciting is within the realm of forest gardening, for example, where you bring those things together. So you have a very beautiful kind of wild looking, lush layered garden, that's kind of exciting to walk through, and you discover new things. But also wherever you look, there are different things that you can eat. So you have that like wonderful mix of like different flowers and herbs and kind of textures and shapes and colors. But at the same time, yeah, there's all these different things to eat. Because often, yeah, you have the kind of decorative garden, and then you have the kind of like vegetable garden hidden away at the end because it's thought to be kind of like shameful or ugly or something, you know. So yeah, I think it's nice to bring those parts together.
And permaculture does that especially well. I'm not well versed in it whatsoever, but in terms of zoning, it said that in a zone 0, or the zone that includes your house, you ought to have all of your food stuff, and that seems to make a lot of sense to me. I imagine that's probably something that will be covered at least to some extent in today's talk, because it's all about growing food in boxes, is it not?
It is, and hopefully it's going to happen. I'm just looking down because I'm getting messages from Mark that he's having problems with his pre-registration getting logged in, but I'm going to sort that out with him in a minute in the break. Yeah. But yeah, all the zones are a really interesting point, because you can also start with your zone 00, which is with yourself. So using the tools and the principles and ethics to think about designing your life, your self-care, your relationships, and then working out from there. So yeah, it's a very amazing, broad, flexible system that can work on so many levels. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to have a break now for the next 10 minutes. Feel free to just continue and talk to each other if you want. I'm going to stop recording, but the room is obviously open. And I'm just going to try and sort out with Mark so he can join us. But yeah, feel free to stay and talk or take a break, and we'll be back in 10 minutes.